Imagine getting on a bus and taking a seat. You notice the woman next to you pull her child and bag closer to her, eyeing you with uncertainty. A person sits next to you and leans in a bit too close, asking you where you're going. You tell them reluctantly. They nod and continue to pester you, asking you more questions and leaning in closer. You begin to feel uncomfortable, kindly asking them to stop. Ignoring you, they place a hand on your leg and ask you if you're seeing anyone. Hesitantly, you say yes. You're seeing someone you love very much. Suddenly, they yell at you, telling you that you're wrong and screaming more horrible things at you. You rush off the bus at the nearest stop, your stomach twisting uncomfortably as you begin to wonder what you had done wrong. This is an example of everyday bias directed towards people of color, women, and members of the LGBTQ+ community. I don't have to tell you that people aren't being treated equally. From the news to events that happen in everyday life, it's very hard not to notice. People are judged on things ranging from, but not limited to, their skin color, what they look like, who they choose to like, where they're from, their religion, and the list unfortunately goes on. You don't have to raise your hands, but how many of you have been discriminated against? Try to recall a time where this might have happened to you. I'm sure the feelings and memories that come along with this situation are most likely negative. Sadly, many people feel this way all the time going throughout their daily lives. I could spend hours telling you stories about how people of color are being killed because of the heavy presence of melanin in their skin, or a woman being harassed in the workplace, or even brutally murdered for simply refusing to go on dates. I could even mention how young members of the LGBTQ+ community are being kicked out of their homes and onto dangerous streets by unaccepting family members. But that isn't what I'm here for. Personal definition of acceptance: allowing someone to be themselves around you without being judged or mistreated for it. Dictionary definition: to agree or consent to. The difference between my definition and the dictionary definition is the word agree. You don't have to agree with how people choose to live their lives, but you shouldn't have the right to stop or persecute them. My personal philosophy is, if someone isn't hurting anyone physically or mentally, they're not doing anything wrong. If you don't agree with this, try asking yourself these 4 things. Why do I feel like certain people don't deserve to be accepted? What types of negative tolls does not accepting others have on them? How would I feel if I were in their situation? And finally, what can I do to become more open-minded and understanding? So, what can you do to become more open-minded and understanding? Try to understand where they're coming from and try to have more open, respectful conversations with those types of people. Explain politely why you live or are a certain way. A big mistake people have when trying to have these types of conversations is being disrespectful or unwilling to listen. Try becoming more empathetic. Try having a more open mind and put yourself in their position, and remove all bias when doing so. Overall, the door that leads to obtaining a more open mindset is made out of better communication. I believe my generation is more accepting than the ones that have come before us. They tend to think more conservatively, which there's nothing wrong with, but if their way of life stops people from being their authentic selves, then I think it's about time we try to change the way we look at things. During earlier hours, this school is full of students who are different in every way. We have students who come from different countries, speak different languages, and have diverse looks. We are constantly surrounded by people who are different than us. It'd be impossible to try to frown upon our differences instead of trying to understand them. The more we understand them and ourselves, the more we can help others on this journey of understanding people better. You can help others and yourself become more accepting at any point in your life by having more open conversations and being more empathetic. You don't have to be young or even to become more understanding. The fact that people are being killed or severely injured because of their differences should be reason enough to become more understanding. The examples I mentioned beforehand are just a few penalties of not accepting people. Imagine how many lives would be saved if we learned to love and welcome each other. Because of misunderstandings about one another, people are paying the ultimate price because of their differences. We can't afford to let this continue, especially if the solution is as easy as becoming more compassionate towards one another. When you leave this building, I implore you to reflect on what you tolerate and don't tolerate. Try applying them to my personal philosophy. If someone isn't hurting anyone physically or mentally, they're not doing anything wrong. I ask you to challenge your friends as well. Like many things, this won't be easy, but you can't expect to move forward if you refuse to move from the spot you're standing in. It's my responsibility, your responsibility, our responsibility to become more compassionate, open-minded, and understanding towards each other. Thank you.